What if the next big American energy boom isn't in Texas or Alaska, but in the oil-rich swamps of the Orinoco Belt, unlocked by a US military push into Venezuela? Picture this: gas prices dropping by $5 a gallon at your local pump, billions flowing back to Wall Street firms like Chevron and Exxon, and a fresh market of 28 million consumers hungry for US tech and ag exports. Sounds like a dream for your 401k, right? But it's no fantasy, it's the potential payoff from President Trump's escalating showdown with Nicolás Maduro, where war on drugs rhetoric is inching toward boots on the ground. Today, we're breaking it down: the near-term flashpoint that could spark regime change, and the massive economic opportunities for both Venezuela and the US if it all goes down. Let's set the stage. It's October 2025, and the Caribbean is buzzing with US warships. 3 Aegis destroyers prowl the waters off Venezuela's coast, B-52 bombers from Barksdale Air Force Base run deterrence patrols close enough to Venezuelan military outposts to rattle windows in Caracas, and F-35 jets have pierced Venezuelan airspace twice this month alone. President Trump, fresh off his second-term oath, has authorized the CIA for covert lethal operations inside Venezuela, targeting what he calls narco-terrorists tied to Maduro's regime. We're talking drone strikes, special ops raids, anything short of full invasion, for now. Trump confirmed it himself in a White House presser on October 15. We're considering ground strikes if these thugs don't back off. This isn't bluster. Since August, US forces have sunk 6 suspected drug boats in Venezuelan waters, killing at least 27 people, all justified as hits on the Cartel de los Soles, Maduro's alleged narco arm. Maduro's firing back hard. He's mobilized the Bolivarian militia, 8 million armed civilians drilled for asymmetric warfare, and vowed an armed struggle if Uncle Sam crosses the line. Venezuela's foreign minister slammed it as a policy of aggression aimed at stealing their oil. Analysts at the Center for Strategic and International Studies say current US assets, a handful of ships and jets, are nowhere near enough for a full invasion. They'd need 50,000 troops minimum, 5 to 20 times what's deployed now. But here's the kicker: this feels like Panama 1989 Redux, where drug war ops flipped into regime change overnight. Trump floated invasion ideas back in 2017 and 2019. Now, with Secretary of State Marco Rubio, a hawk on Venezuela, calling shots, the pieces are aligning. Trump even notified Congress on October 2 that America is in a non-international armed conflict with these cartels, legalese for war powers unlocked. Why now? Fentanyl flooding US streets, 100,000 overdose deaths last year, and Maduro's indicted as a kingpin. But dig deeper. Venezuela's got the world's largest oil reserves, 303 billion barrels, 20% of global total, locked behind sanctions and mismanagement. Production's cratered to 700,000 barrels a day from 2.5 million in 2013, thanks to PDVSA's collapse and hyperinflation topping 1,000%. Trump sees a twofer: crush the narcos, topple Maduro, and unleash a resource jackpot that weakens China's grip. Beijing holds 60% of Venezuela's debt. Opposition figures like Maria Corina Machado are whispering support any scenario that transitions to democracy, she told the Sunday Times. If this tips into invasion, say, a surgical strike on a cartel stronghold that spirals, we're looking at regime collapse. And that's where the dollars start pouring. Fast forward to the hypothetical post-invasion world. Maduro's out, a US-backed transition government stabilizes Caracas, sanctions lift by spring 2026. Venezuela's economy, shrunk 75% since 2013, with 73% in poverty, gets a Marshall Plan-style reboot. For Venezuela, the opportunities are seismic. First up, oil renaissance. PDVSA, the state oil behemoth, gets partially privatized. Think joint ventures with majors like Chevron, who already snagged licenses in 2019. Production could triple to 3 million barrels a day within 2 years, at $70 to $80 a barrel, injecting $50 billion annually into treasuries, versus $10 billion today. That's GDP growth of 15 to 20% yearly, per ECLAC models for post-crisis rebounds. Foreign direct investment floods in, $20 to $30 billion in the first 3 years for refineries, pipelines, and ports, echoing Iraq's 2003 surge, but with better geology. Beyond black gold, mining booms. Venezuela's got the planet's largest untapped gold deposits, 1 million ounces a year potential, plus coltan for EV batteries and rare earths for tech. Illicit ops under Maduro siphoned billions. Now, legal FDI could hit $10 billion, creating 500,000 jobs in the Arc of Orinoco. Infrastructure gets a facelift, $50 billion in US-backed loans for highways, airports, and power grids. Think Halliburton contracts, but with local hires slashing unemployment from 50% to 20%. Diversification kicks in too. Agro-exports like coffee and cacao ramp up 30%. Tourism revives those pristine Caribbean beaches for 5 million visitors a year. And light manufacturing, textiles, assembly, absorbs returning migrants. By 2028, poverty could halve, per UN projections for stabilized regimes, with remittances from 7.7 million expats fueling a consumer boom. But let's flip to Uncle Sam, because that's where your wallet feels it most. For the US, this is energy independence on steroids. Direct access to 20% of global reserves slashes reliance on Saudi swings or Russian games, saving $10 to $15 billion yearly in imports. Chevron and Exxon ramp Orinoco drilling, exporting services worth $20 billion annually while domestic gas dips to $2.50 a gallon, a 20% cut that juices consumer spending by $100 billion nationwide. Supply chains solidify. Venezuelan coltan feeds the EV battery rush, cutting China's monopoly and boosting US firms like Tesla by 10 to 15% in margins. Defense and logistics win big, $100 billion in reconstruction contracts for Bechtel, Lockheed, think ports rebuilt for US Navy stops, securing the Panama Canal flank. Trade explodes, a stable Venezuela opens as a 28 million person market, sucking in $5 billion in US ag, soy, corn, and tech, phones, machinery, yearly, a 25% bump for exporters. Geopolitically, it's a masterstroke: dethrone Maduro, evict Russian Wagner mercs and Chinese lenders, and cement US hegemony in LATAM, stabilizing migration flows that have overwhelmed the border with 1 million encounters last year. Global oil prices steady at $60 to $70 a barrel, taming inflation and padding ExxonMobil stock 30%. Wall Street salivates, post-invasion bonds yield 20% for risk takers, while ETFs like XLE, Energy, and USO, oil, could double in 18 months. Boom, production triples, US exports quintuple. Of course, it's not all upside. Short-term chaos, invasion sparks guerrilla war, oil spikes 20% to $100 a barrel, inflating your grocery bill. Venezuela risks civil strife, with 7.9 million needing aid amid blackouts and food riots. For America, $200 billion in military tabs, plus backlash from Brazil and Colombia, no regional buy-in like in Panama. If transition botches, you get another failed state, migrants surging 50%, and Chinese proxies digging in deeper. Bottom line, this powder keg could ignite opportunity or oblivion. If Trump pulls the trigger, Venezuela rebounds as a resource powerhouse, America gets cheaper energy, secure chains, and a hemispheric win. What do you think, invasion by Christmas, or diplomatic dodge? Drop your take below, smash subscribe for more econ intel, and remember, in geopolitics, fortune favors the prepared portfolio. See you next time.